Okay. So you should have your kick and your snare balanced at about the same level. So listen to yourself as you're playing. And one good drill to do would be play and try to bring the level, the volume of your hi-hat really low, then up really loud, and all the way back down. But ultimately, your hi-hat is not what's making the sound for that cool beat. It's not, think of a recording that you like, you're hearing the kick and the snare, maybe some open hi-hats. But that's why when you sit down, if you sound great on the floor toms, but your kick and snare sound bad because they're not balanced or you're not hitting the center of the snare, once again, it's like lipstick on a pig or something. It's just, come on, you've got to have balance between the kick and the snare. Hit the snare in the center. Don't do the rim shots on every hit, just good crisp kick, snare, balance. And then you layer in your hi-hat over the top.
So by balance, you mean how you're playing it?
I'm talking about volume mostly. And like with the kick, you want punch. Now you don't want your snare to be really hard, but you don't. I guess one thing that I end up finding a lot of times is a hesitant kick, like someone who's just like barely tickling it, or they're a little bit off, whether on the front or the back of the beat. Like focus as you practice. You pull everything back on your kick being right on and having some nice punch, and then a snare that matches. Doesn't mean that it has to be really loud, but keep them at the same level. And then your hi-hat just fills it in. It fills in all of those 8th notes or 16th notes. That makes a big difference.
Whoever's hesitant on hitting a kick drum is missing out.
Yeah, but it's very common when you're starting. And I think when we're learning songs, we're so focused on all of the details that we're hearing, and it's very easy to miss the most important stuff, which would be just that basic beat. And most of these songs, they're going to have, a very similar beat, at least for the verses. And if we get focused on the exact fills or whatever it is, the exceptions in the song, rather than the basics and the solid kick and snare, it just really makes it hard for everyone. And if you hit as you're playing, if you're constantly, actually, where's the snare that sounded better? This one. If you're constantly just hitting the edge, there are drummers that play on the edge all the time. You can tell because it's not worn in on the center. It sounds so much better if you hit the center of your snare. And some of them, they'll oscillate between rim shots. So just focus on getting that kick and that snare locked in. If something is too complicated, if it's a really complicated 16th note beat on the recording that you're trying to match, just break it down to 8th notes and make sure your kick and your snare match the beat of that recording. And if those are solid, no one's going to notice.